Welcome to this session on change impact analysis, which is part of the change control or the change management. In project execution, every change has a ripple effect, affecting the timelines, the cost, the quality, resources, and the stakeholders. And without a proper assessment, even minor changes can lead to delays or cost overruns and project failure. In this session, we'll discuss how to evaluate change impact systematically and manage dependencies and constraints, and to ensure a minimal disruption on project execution. Let's first understand what is change impact analysis. Change impact analysis is a systematic evaluation of how a change request affects the project and how a proposed change can affect the project constraints. It identifies the impact on the scope, the schedule, the cost, the quality, risks, and stakeholders, which is known the project constraints. Also, it ensures an informed decision making before implementing the changes. So, all of these decisions will be taken based on the impact itself. So, ensure that you conduct, let's say, a well structured, accurate impact analysis to identify the real impact of these changes on the project constraints. For example, in a hospital IT system upgrade, adding a new patient portal feature may require an additional testing, training for staff, and integration with existing databases. Without a proper impact analysis, it could lead to downtime or data loss or compliance issues. And to conduct an impact analysis, you can follow these steps uh, to ensure that you have a correct impact analysis. First, you need to identify the proposed change. After that, you need to assess its impact on scope, schedule, cost, and quality. Also, ensure to involve the stakeholders or the team that they are doing the work. So they have, let's say, a broader understanding on these changes in terms of cost, in terms of resources, in terms of time that need to implement these changes and how it could impact the other project constraints. After that, you need to evaluate the dependencies and constraints. Based on that, you analyze the risks and stakeholder concerns. And finally, you recommend whether to approve, modify, or reject the change. And an example here, let's take a construction project. If the client requests a stronger materials for the bridge, the impact analysis would assess the following. First, you need to assess the scope impact by asking yourself, will the structure design need a modification? I mean, the baseline or the scope baseline that you have. So, in terms of scope impact, you analyze change in terms of scope impact. You will ask yourself, will the structure, will there be a structural design need a modification? Then you, let's say, assess the change on the schedule impact. Let's say, and you can ask yourself by, will the procurement and installation take longer time? When it comes to cost impact, you can ask yourself, will this increase the project budget? When assessing the quality impact, you can ask yourself, will the new materials enhance the durability or will it make it worse? Also, you need to assess the dependencies. So, dependencies, you can assess it by asking yourself, will this affect the other ongoing work? For example, in case if there is any, let's say, dependency on, you know, uh, procuring a stronger materials on different project activities. Based on that, and after this analysis, you answer all of these questions. Based on that, you can take, to the team. You can consult the team to take an informed decision. Identifying a change, let's say, implications. So, identifying change implications, let's say a change in one area of the project can, for sure, triggers cascading effect. Changes can affect the deliverables, the milestones, the budget, resources, and risks. You need also to identify the implication in terms of whether this change is a short term versus long term impact. So you need to assess that as well. Based on whatever assessment that you do and you understand the change implication on the broader, let's say, picture of the project, short or long term impact, you can take a decision and ensure balancing the benefits versus the potential disruptions. For example, here in a mobile application development project, changing the user interface design midway through the development may require revisiting the wireframes, modifying the codes, let's say, resisting or retraining the users from zero, and delaying the launch by several weeks. By assessing both short term and long term effect, teams can make an informed trade offs before approving the change. Managing dependencies in change analysis. So, dependencies are interconnected project elements that can be affected by change. Also, dependencies can be considered as a changes in one task and impact the dependent task when you have identified the activity list or the network diagram where it shows all of the activities that's going to be, let's say, implemented during the project. So you need to assess the dependency on one task in case if that you have made a change on one task. You need to assess what would be the impact on the other dependent tasks. Dependencies can be internal within the project or external, for example, the vendor or regulations. Also, you may assess the critical path. Fact is crucial here. And the critical path, we haven't discovered it, but we are going to cover it on the monitoring phase. Without analyzing the dependencies, implementing change can cause bottlenecks or rework and operational failures. Managing constraints and change analysis. Constraints define project limits and must be considered in every change request. And if you recall the PMI triple constraints, including the scope, time, and cost, with risk and quality added and stakeholders as well. So common project constraints includes the scope, time, cost, quality, resource, and risks. And changes often affect multiple constraints simultaneously. You also need to consider the trade-off decision must be aligned with the project priorities. Project managers must balance the project constraint based on the business priorities and stakeholder expectations. How to consider a risk and change impact analysis. So, changes introduces uncertainty, making risk analysis crucial as well. So, whenever you have any change, consider the risk that is involved at that change. So, every change introduces a new risks, which requires a proactive risk assessment to help you mitigate the negative impact. And any change related risks must be documented, the risk register. So, in case if there's a new change has been introduced by the stakeholder and you while doing the, let's say, the impact analysis, and you found that this change might add a new risk to the project, ensure that you document that risk in case if that change request is approved, and you follow the risk mitigation strategies by identifying the risks, by let's say assessing the impact probability, doing the qualitative the quantitative analysis, and then putting a response plan. Sure that your risk register is updated based on the result of that change. For example, in a banking software upgrade, adding real-time fraud detection could introduce technical risks such as system performance issues, also operational risks such as staffs requiring an extra training, and also regulatory risks. when it comes to compliance with the new laws. So, assessing and mitigating these risks early prevents unexpected project failures. Minimizing the disruption from changes and how to do that. Minimizing the disruption ensures that the change implementation does not derail the project. How to do that? By developing a contingency plan to handle unexpected challenges. Also, ensure to communicate early and frequently with the stakeholders and implement the changes incrementally to reduce the operational impact. For instance, a telecom network upgrade, rolling out a new software on a new infrastructure nationwide at once could cause a service disruption. Instead, implementing the change in phases helps managing the risks, adjust the processes, and gather user feedback before the full deployment. The tools that you can use to do or to perform impact analysis. Using structured tool enhances the decision making. Impact analysis metrics helps to quantify the effects. Also, dependency mapping tools to track the affected components, as well as the project management software. It can be used as one of these tools to impact analysis. You have this Jira software, Microsoft Project, or Primavera, which helps visualize the changes. And to summarize our session and talk about the best practices when handling and assessing the change impact, we say that change impact analysis is essential to ensure the project stability and success. By using a structured impact assessment techniques, tracking dependencies, and proactively managing risks, organizations can implement changes efficiently while minimizing the disruptions.